Good afternoon, preppers. Welcome to Goshen Prepping. Thank you for joining us. We've been talking about China and how China is basically starting to take control of the world, not necessarily militarily, even though that's coming, but financially. China is becoming an economic giant. And I'm not saying their economy is thriving right now, but we're seeing countries all over the place starting to switch to them. As China continues to push that they actually want to take back over Taiwan, and as the United States half-heartedly are saying they're going to actually defend Taiwan in this situation, it's going to put us into a very difficult situation when that day comes. Not if, but when. And so when that day comes, we've talked about in the past how China will be actually having attacks on the United States. And we're not necessarily mean attacks with boots on the ground, as I mentioned before, although that could happen, but instead cyber attacks, which absolutely could devastate our way of life and all of our industry here in the United States. What it'll look like if China launches cyber attacks in the United States. And this is definitely worth taking a look at because they go through some very valid points. They are likely to target U.S. military networks, obviously, and other critical infrastructures. Of course, that's actually something we have to deal with. Number one, as we mentioned, military and transportation networks. Military systems and transportation methods for troops and supplies to come to Taiwan's aid are likely to be at the top of the list for the hackers. That makes sense. And Sleepy Joe has committed multiple times to sending troops to Taiwan if that happens. They could target networks of ports on the West Coast, airfields, and transportation networks that move troops. That makes sense. They will do that. It's all about to deter U.S. military action by impeding U.S. decision-making, inducing panic, and interfering with the deployment of our forces. And this one should frighten you, energy. They'll also likely zero on U.S. critical infrastructure in order to undermine American support for Taiwan. This could include electricity operations and fuel suppliers. They'd likely go after gas pipelines, trying to make it so it would divide Americans. They would use cyber attacks against the U.S. to sow panic and chaos. Very interesting way to look at this, isn't it? Trying to actually divide Americans, seeing chaos. I think we're already seeing some of this happening. Water is one of the most vulnerable areas for attack. In 2021, an unidentified hacker gained access to networks at a water treatment plant in Florida. They tried and failed. They tried to poison the water supply. And this could be the most devastating business and financial markets. They've already worked on this by stealing our intellectual property. They do this a lot. But they will try to hit U.S. financial markets, trying to undermine U.S. support for Taiwan. And lastly, preparations on the home front. They'll try to do all this, but it's not an easy fight, not by any means. The U.S. is one of the most advanced nations in cyberspace, and we have a lot of closely guarded intelligence secrets. And I have friends who work for the government in the cybersecurity area. And the things that have actually happened where they try to hack into our systems is an ongoing, continuous struggle. And again, we are superior when it comes to this. But I'll ask how long? Because, if you actually want to build a missile, design it even, it's going to cost millions of dollars. But just trying to train somebody who can actually hack through a computer cost very little. And so they're actually pouring tons of money into setting up those kind of defenses and offenses in China so they can actually try to bring us down through cyber warfare if need be. I think personally the invasion of Taiwan is coming. And I think when this does happen, the U.S. will take action. And then consequently, when all this happens, we will be under cyber attacks. And I think it's just a matter of time before some of those cyber attacks are actually fruitful. And we're going to see some major problems here in the United States. So no better time to prepare and be ready for this. Thank you for watching.